the legend of the secret cave and ancient Egyptian relics. When most people think about the Grand Canyon, what comes to mind is its breathtaking scenery and the Colorado River winding through layers of colorful stone. But beneath that familiar surface lies a legend that once set America abuzz. In 1909, the Arizona Gazette published a story that even to this day remains hotly debated. At the center of the story was Kincaid, a courageous explorer who traveled by boat along Marble Canyon. According to his account, while observing the sheer rock faces, he noticed a strange mark on the mountainside and decided to climb up for a closer look. As he drew near, Kincaid realized this was not a natural crevice, but an entrance that had been carefully carved out by someone. Kincaid described how he had to crawl through a long, dark tunnel before stepping into a vast chamber, as large as the heart of some ancient temple. There, his lantern's glow fell upon hundreds of mummies laid neatly on stacked stone shelves. All around were bronze objects, weapons with unusual designs, and a wealth of golden bowls, clay jars, and exquisitely decorated artifacts. On the stone walls, he saw lines of hieroglyphs that, according to Kincaid, did not resemble any script from the local native tribes he knew. Right then, he began to suspect that these were traces of a civilization that had crossed the ocean to this land. Kincaid even wondered if the ancient Egyptians themselves had once set foot here and left behind a trove of treasures now lost to time beneath the Grand Canyon. After this extraordinary discovery, Kincaid reported his findings to Professor Jordan of the Smithsonian Institution. The Smithsonian was said to have sent an entire archaeological team to study the mysterious cave. Supposedly, they mapped the tunnels, cataloged the artifacts, and secretly transported the treasure back to the nation's capital. But then, something strange happened. Everything went silent. There were no photos of the cave, no artifacts displayed, no official reports released, and no one seemed to know what truly happened next. When asked about this story, representatives from the Smithsonian insisted that no such excavation or Egyptian artifact discovery ever took place at the Grand Canyon. They stressed that there was never any evidence of mummies, artifacts, or archaeological proof of ancient Egyptians in that region. This only made the legend of the secret cave even more mysterious and compelling. Many believed the government deliberately hid the evidence so history would not have to be rewritten. Meanwhile, skeptics argue that the whole thing was just a hoax meant to attract attention at the dawn of the 20th century. To this day, no one has been able to verify whether Kincaid's story was true or merely a work of imagination. Even so, the legend of a cave filled with mummies and Egyptian treasure deep inside the Grand Canyon endures as one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. The story not only sparks curiosity about whether ancient people once crossed the ocean, but it also stands as a symbol of our passion for discovery and those dark corners of history that have never been fully brought into the light. Evidence of ancient humans from 12,000 years ago. Over tens of thousands of years, the Grand Canyon has quietly preserved countless traces of the ancient cultures that once lived and thrived here. Archaeologists have repeatedly uncovered astonishing artifacts scattered throughout the caves, crevices, and ancient layers of earth within the Grand Canyon. Among the most remarkable discoveries are the Clovis and Folsom points, two types of weapons that belong to some of the very first prehistoric hunters of North America. These projectile points were crafted with extraordinary skill from hard stone, sharp enough to bring down Ice Age giants like mammoths and ancient bison. What's truly special is that these tools appeared in the Grand Canyon roughly 12,000 years ago, dating back to a time when our ancestors still depended entirely on nature for their survival. Beyond weapons, researchers have also found many small animal figurines made from twigs, which are often believed to be lucky charms used by ancient hunters to pray for a successful hunt. To modern people, these artifacts might seem like simple trinkets, but to ancient humans, they carried spiritual significance and reflected a deep, symbolic view of the world around them. The Grand Canyon is also well known for its legacy of pottery and woven goods created by the basket maker and Puebloan peoples. Baskets, pottery jars, and food storage containers decorated with intricate geometric patterns reveal the exceptional craftsmanship and creativity of the communities that once called this place home. The basket maker people were renowned as masters of weaving, while the Puebloan people produced pottery of high artistic value, together painting a vivid picture of the region's rich and enduring cultural heritage. These archaeological discoveries not only prove that the Grand Canyon has served as a home to humans for tens of thousands of years, but they also offer a window into the development and adaptation of ancient cultures as they face the harsh realities of the natural world. Maymand, the enduring mark of an ancient civilization. If you've ever thought that stories of prehistoric times were nothing more than legend, then Maymand will make you reconsider everything. In the arid lands of Kerman Province, Iran, there is a village that has existed for up to 12,000 years. This place stands as living proof of the resilience and ingenuity of ancient people who chose to settle down and build a stable community right in the heart of the mountain stone. Maymand is unlike any village you've ever known. Instead of pitching tents or building houses from earth, the ancient inhabitants here carved deep into the rock, creating hundreds of small, warm, and sturdy rooms. These stone homes have survived through millennia, and even today, about 350 of them remain intact. What's even more remarkable is that the people of Maymand have lived there continuously for more than 3,000 years. Countless generations have grown up beneath those stone roofs, leaving their mark on every wall and every narrow passage. Around the village, archaeologists have discovered many rock carvings nearly 10,000 years old. These simple drawings might be among the first messages that ancient people left for future generations, depicting scenes of hunting, daily life, or even religious ceremonies. However, when researchers searched for evidence of technological advancement, such as pottery, they were in for a surprise. All the pottery they found dated to only about 6,000 years ago, which means that after thousands of years living in rock shelters, the people here only began making ceramics much later, a much slower pace of progress compared to other civilizations around the world. Why did the people of Maymand remain here for so long without rushing into technological change? Perhaps they were content with what nature provided, or maybe great upheavals such as floods or natural disasters caused the community to take a long time to regain its momentum. Later, around 800 BC, Aryan tribes arrived and turned the village into a center for worshipping the sun god Mithras. They continued using the stone houses, conducting religious ceremonies, and treating the place as sacred ground where people could connect with the divine. The mountains surrounding the village became symbols of steadfastness and endurance, while the sunlight streaming through the rocks rekindled the community's spirit and faith. Today, if you ever set foot in Maymand, you'll find a scene that has changed very little over thousands of years. The stone houses still stand, silent and ancient amid the wild landscape. Traces of a forgotten civilization in India, the mysterious rock engravings at Kanha, Maharashtra. It's hard to believe that in the heart of modern India lies evidence of a civilization that has been almost entirely forgotten. In Kanha, Maharashtra, our ancestors left behind stunning rock engravings some 12,000 years ago, works of art that continue to puzzle archaeologists even today. The story began when two local residents, Sudhir Risbud and Manoj Marathe, accidentally discovered some strange drawings on large stone slabs. At first, these appeared to be nothing more than a few simple lines, but the deeper they looked, the more they realized this was an ancient treasure trove of art that had never been officially recorded. Driven by curiosity and determination, they inspired the entire community to join in searching for and documenting a series of mysterious engravings scattered across 52 nearby villages. Remarkably, only 5 of these villages had previously been aware of the existence of these images. What astonished everyone most was a clear engraving of a rhinoceros on the rock. In present-day India, rhinoceroses do not live in the wild, and even historical records make no mention of this animal being present in the region in modern times. So how could ancient people 12,000 years ago create such a vivid depiction of a rhinoceros? But it didn't stop at the rhinoceros. The engravings at Kanha primarily portray scenes of hunting, wild animals, and the everyday life of nomadic people. There are absolutely no images of farming or land cultivation. This suggests that people here were still living a nomadic lifestyle, relying on nature, following large herds, hunting, and gathering to survive. This discovery has forced scientists to reconsider the entire story of human origins and migration in South Asia. For a long time, it was believed that prehistoric communities moved very little, and mainly live near where they were born. However, these drawings tell a different story. They open up the possibility of long-distance migrations, of cultural exchanges across thousands of miles, and perhaps even of a civilization that time itself has forgotten. Humanity's first wheel, a technological milestone at Nahalal, Israel. If you've ever thought the wheel only appeared when people began building houses, founding villages, or crafting chariots, then the story of Nahalal will come as a surprise. Near the shores of the Sea of Galilee in Israel, archaeologists have uncovered one of the greatest turning points in the history of human technology: ancient spindle whorls dating back some 12,000 years. At a time when most communities around the world were still focused on hunting and gathering for survival, the prehistoric people of Nahalal had already learned how to drill holes through small pebbles, creating round objects that looked remarkably like tiny wheels. At first glance, many assumed these were just ordinary stones or perhaps decorative items. But on closer examination, scientists realized they were perfectly shaped to serve as spindle whorls. With this simple invention, humans opened the door to a new era. The spindle whorl allowed people to spin thread and weave cloth, moving beyond dependence on animal hides to stay warm and protect themselves. This was the first step in a long line of innovations, from potter's wheels to wagons, chariots, and eventually to the complex vehicles we use every day. Modern scientists have even recreated these ancient spindle whorls using 3D printing and tested them in real life. The results were astonishing. These small wheels worked perfectly and were just as effective as any tool from the modern age. This proves that from the very dawn of history, human ingenuity and creativity already reached far beyond what we might imagine. The Anunnaki tomb in Iran, truth or just legend? Some mysteries remain the subject of debate around the world even today, and the tomb said to belong to the Anunnaki in the Iranian desert is one of them, according to numerous stories circulating on the internet. Archaeologists reportedly unearthed an ancient burial site dating back 12,000 years, which contained remains unlike any human, along with a host of strange artifacts, metal objects, pottery decorated with patterns reminiscent of Sumerian legends about the Anunnaki, those gods or aliens who were said to have come to Earth to build the first civilization. Many accounts even describe oversized, deformed skeletons or bone structures that do not match those of modern humans, alongside curious metal bracelets, ancient symbols, and even fragments of materials whose origins cannot be identified. These details quickly became evidence for those who believe in the theory of ancient aliens. However, up to now, not a single reputable scientific organization has confirmed the existence of this tomb or the identities of any scientists supposedly involved in its excavation. Reports of DNA testing, artifact analysis, or scientific documentation all remain nothing more than rumors, with no official papers ever published in any scientific journal or presented at any international archaeological conference. Many researchers have warned that the story of the Anunnaki tomb is likely just an unverified theory, or even a hoax, a rumor blown out of proportion to attract attention. Nevertheless, the mystery of these so-called giant extraterrestrials continues to spread widely across social media, online forums, and YouTube channels, leaving many people to wonder, could there really be secrets of an unknown civilization hidden in the Iranian desert, or is this simply part of a collective imagination that's always longing for mysteries beyond human understanding? The vanishing island of Bermeja, a mystery in the heart of the Gulf of Mexico. If you open an old maritime chart from the 16th century and look north of the Yucatan Peninsula, chances are you'll find the name Bermeja quietly marking a spot in the heart of the Gulf of Mexico. It was a small island, but one that carried an unsolved mystery for hundreds of years. Spanish explorers first recorded Bermeja's existence as early as 1539, and from that point on, it continued to appear on world maps again and again. For sailors and scholars alike, it was more than just a navigational landmark. It was a symbol of hope, hinting at lands that no one had yet set foot on. But Bermeja's story doesn't end there. As modern science advanced, survey missions using cutting-edge equipment were launched throughout the 20th century. Researchers, survey ships, and even airplanes all zeroed in on the coordinates once recorded for Bermeja, hoping to find traces of this island that had been talked about for centuries. Yet all they found was an endless expanse of open sea, calm and unbroken, without even a rocky outcrop or a sliver of sand in sight. Every attempt to find Bermeja ended in disappointment and growing doubt. Many theories have been proposed to explain this strange disappearance. Some believe powerful earthquakes caused the island to collapse beneath the waves. Others suggest that shifting currents, erosion, and rising sea levels over the centuries gradually erased Bermeja from the map. But whatever the cause, no one has ever produced truly convincing evidence to settle the debate once and for all. What makes the mystery of Bermeja even more extraordinary is its strategic value. If Bermeja truly existed, it would have dramatically expanded Mexico's exclusive economic zone in the Gulf of Mexico, giving the country potential control over a region believed to contain more than 22.5 billion barrels of oil deep below the seafloor. So this isn't just a story about a missing island, it's also about a quiet struggle between international powers to claim some of the most valuable resources in the world. And because of this, a host of conspiracy theories have sprung up. Some believe Bermeja didn't just disappear by chance, but was deliberately destroyed by shadowy forces. There are even claims that the CIA or foreign agencies orchestrated its erasure to shift territorial boundaries as nations negotiated over offshore resources. Of course, none of these bold theories have ever been proven. They remain, for now, in the realm of speculation. In 2009, the Mexican government officially removed Bermeja from all national maps and nautical charts. This decision effectively meant that Mexico lost its claim to a vast stretch of sea and the immense wealth that generations had once hoped for. To this day, Bermeja exists only as a faint name on ancient charts, a haunting reminder of the ocean's enduring mysteries. The shadow over Grunard Island, the silent war of the Dark Harvest Commando. In 1981, all of Britain was suddenly shaken by a series of strange letters appearing on the front pages of the major newspapers. These were chilling warnings, signed by Dark Harvest Commando, a group claiming to be part of the Scottish Citizen Army. These names were completely unknown before, but in a single night, they managed to send shockwaves through both the government and the public. The contents of these letters were truly spine-chilling. The group demanded that the British government immediately begin decontaminating Grunard Island, a small, remote landmass off the coast of Scotland that had long carried the nickname, the Island of Death. Few people knew that Grunard had once been the site of top-secret biological weapons testing during World War II, under the codename Operation Vegetarian. At that time, the British military infected sheep with anthrax bacteria to test the destructive power of biological warfare. The result was an island left contaminated for decades, where no animal could survive if it dared to set foot on the land. But Dark Harvest Commando didn't stop at warnings. They claimed to have gone to Grunard Island and removed as much as 140 kilograms of anthrax-infected soil. The group threatened to scatter this deadly soil at government and military headquarters as a way to force the authorities into action. Not long after, packages containing what appeared to be contaminated earth did indeed turn up outside sensitive government offices. Each parcel wasn't just a threat to public health, it was also a grim reminder of the responsibility that Britain had neglected for so many years. Faced with mounting public pressure and rapidly spreading fear, the government was forced to respond. An unprecedented cleanup operation began on Grunard Island. More than 280 tons of formaldehyde were sprayed across the ground, and layer after layer of topsoil was painstakingly removed to eradicate any trace of the deadly bacteria. The work dragged on for 4 long years, closely supervised by scientists and health experts. When this seemingly endless task was finally complete, the authorities decided on one last test. They released healthy sheep onto the island and observed them for months to see if the land was truly safe. The sheep survived in good health, showing no signs of illness, and only then was Grunard Island officially declared safe once more. The Lima treasure on Cocos Island. Legends of gold and silver beneath the jungle canopy. Out in the deep blue waters off the coast of Costa Rica, Cocos Island appears as just a small dot in the ocean, surrounded by rolling waves and dense, untamed rainforest. But what has made Cocos Island an immortal name in the minds of adventurers isn't just its wild beauty. It's the legend of the Lima treasure, one of the most mysterious and captivating tales in the history of piracy. The story begins in 1820, when Peru was engulfed in chaos, torn apart by uprisings and wars for independence. Fearing that the immense treasures of the city of Lima would fall into the hands of the rebels, the Spanish viceroy decided to move all of it to Mexico for safekeeping. An English merchant ship called the Mary Dear, under the command of a Scottish captain named William Thompson, was chosen to transport this treasure. But at that very moment, greed and daring changed the fate of everyone on board. Thompson and his crew not only betrayed their mission, but also killed all the Spanish guards, then immediately set sail for Cocos Island. Once they landed, Thompson's group is believed to have secretly buried the entire fortune of gold, silver, and precious jewels, hoping to one day return and claim it for themselves. But fate had another twist in store. As soon as the Mary Dear left Cocos Island, it was captured. Every crew member was put on trial for piracy, and only Thompson and his first mate were spared, thanks to their promise to lead the Spanish soldiers to the treasure's hiding place. However, when they set foot on Cocos Island, both men vanished into the jungle and were never seen again. Some believe Thompson managed to escape and lived out his days in hiding somewhere far away, but the whereabouts of the Lima treasure disappeared into history right along with him. Since then, for nearly 2 centuries, dozens of expeditions have landed on Cocos Island, dreaming of being the first to find the legendary treasure, valued at as much as $1 billion. But despite all the advancements of modern technology, no one has ever uncovered a trace of it. All that remains are the wild stories and rumors, which only add to the island's enduring allure. Today, Cocos Island is recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, and all treasure hunting activities are strictly forbidden, making the dream of touching the gold and silver of Lima more distant than ever. Tutankhamun's meteorite sword. At the dawn of the 20th century, when archaeologists excavated the tomb of Tutankhamun deep in the Egyptian desert, they uncovered far more than golden statues, dazzling jewelry, or precious artifacts. They discovered a strange weapon, one that would go on to change the world's understanding of ancient Egyptian technology. It was a sword with a gleaming iron blade, its hilt and scabbard made entirely of gold. From the moment it was brought into the light, this sword captured the attention of scientists and the public alike. Its material alone set it apart, but its story would stretch far beyond the bounds of ordinary imagination. Researchers had long known that in Tutankhamun's era, ironworking was extremely rare. At that time, iron was not only more valuable than gold, but also a symbol of ultimate strength and royal power, reserved solely for the elite. For nearly a century, the great question lingered. How could the artisans of ancient Egypt forge such a flawless iron blade at a time when much of the world was still struggling with tools made of stone and bronze? It wasn't until 2016 that a team of scientists used X-ray fluorescence technology to analyze the sword's composition, and the secret began to reveal itself in cold, convincing numbers. The analysis showed that the blade contained 11% iron, 0.6% cobalt, and a substantial amount of nickel, an elemental ratio that exists only in iron meteorites that once blazed through the atmosphere and crashed to Earth in ancient times. This discovery opened a new horizon for archaeology, confirming that the ancient Egyptians had used meteoritic iron, a material from beyond our world, to craft a weapon for their young and powerful pharaoh. But the marvel of the sword lies not only in the source of its metal, but in the craftsmanship itself. Researcher Takayuki Matsui of Chiba Institute of Technology in Japan spent years studying this unique sword-making method. He concluded that the Egyptians did not use traditional iron forging techniques. Instead, they forged the blade at low temperatures, a process that preserved the meteorite's natural structure while maintaining the sword's remarkable shine and strength. This technique required not just advanced skill, but the kind of experience passed down through generations. It's a testament to how far ahead the Egyptians were compared to the rest of the world at the time. The story of the meteorite sword became even more intriguing as historians examined the famous collection of diplomatic letters known as the Amarna letters. These documents, written around 3,400 years ago, are considered among the earliest examples of diplomatic correspondence ever discovered. One of the letters describes a gift, an iron sword inlaid with lapis lazuli and paired with a golden scabbard, sent from the king of Mitanni to Pharaoh Amenhotep III, Tutankhamun's grandfather, on the occasion of the pharaoh's marriage to a foreign princess. While scientists cannot confirm with certainty whether the sword mentioned in the ancient Amarna letter is the very one now on display in the Cairo Museum, it creates a mysterious link between Egyptian history and the supreme power of the pharaohs. Vajra, the mythical thunderbolt weapon. Among the sacred symbols of the East, few objects are as steeped in legend and deep meaning as the Vajra. The Vajra is not just a finely crafted work of art, it's a key that unlocks stories transcending the boundaries of space, time, and culture, stretching from the soaring temples of Tibet to ancient legends across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. According to Hindu mythology, there was an age when darkness engulfed the world. Indra, the king of the gods, found himself facing powerful demons who could drain all light and water from the earth, turning it into a barren, hopeless wasteland. Indra pleaded for help from Vishnu, and thanks to the divine hands of the celestial blacksmith, he was given an unrivaled weapon, the Vajra. With the Vajra in hand, Indra defeated the demons, tearing through the darkness with blazing bolts of lightning and restoring life and light to all beings. From that moment, the Vajra became a symbol of divine authority and absolute power. But the story of the Vajra doesn't end with conquest and violence. As Buddhism emerged and spread across Asia, the meaning of the Vajra was transformed in a remarkable way. According to Buddhist teachings, it was the Buddha himself who took the thunderbolt scepter, closed its prongs together, and changed it from a weapon of destruction into a symbol of wisdom, compassion, and everlasting reconciliation. From then on, the Vajra was no longer a tool of war, but a sacred object in prayer rituals, helping people overcome both external and inner obstacles on their journey to ultimate enlightenment. Whenever a Tibetan monk holds a Vajra, they believe they are grasping a spirit of unyielding courage and clarity, one that no adversity in life can shake. The influence of the Vajra extends far beyond India or Tibet. Many cultures around the world have similar legends of a thunderbolt scepter or mysterious weapon capable of shattering the darkness. Stories from Northern Europe, South America, and even China all mention a kind of weapon or sacred relic with the power to awaken life and stand against destructive forces. This shows that the Vajra is not merely a product of imagination, but a cross-cultural symbol connecting millions of people with the universal desire to overcome adversity and transcend their own limits. Today, the Vajra still appears in religious ceremonies, in ancient statues, and in the meditations of all those who yearn for indestructible spiritual strength. No longer a symbol of war, the Vajra has become a guiding light for anyone walking through the darkness of life, a reminder that any challenge can be overcome if we hold fast to faith, courage, and the will to seek enlightenment within our own souls. The history of uranium mining and the alien conspiracy theory. If the Grand Canyon is famous for its ancient caves, legends of giants, and lost civilizations, there is another layer of history, less well known, but even more mysterious, that adds to the canyon's allure. This is the story of uranium mines hidden deep within the red rock, along with strange theories involving extraterrestrials. As early as the 1950s, the Grand Canyon became a focal point for uranium mining in America. Orphan Mine, one of the most renowned uranium mines, sits less than 2 miles from Grand Canyon Village and operated for decades in full swing. Then there is Canyon Mine, a modern uranium site that is still active to this day. Beneath layers of ancient rock, uranium lies concealed within natural formations known as breccia pipes, vertical columns of fractured stone formed by geologic upheaval. Mining crews have dug deep into the earth to extract this rare mineral, pressing on despite growing concerns about radioactive contamination spreading to groundwater, springs, and the fragile surrounding ecosystem. But the story of uranium here goes beyond the boundaries of science and environmental issues. Even as experts struggle with the challenges of pollution within the community of mystery enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists, another theory has been quietly gaining traction. They believe the Grand Canyon is not just a resource for humans, but was once a strategic mine for extraterrestrials. According to these theories, thousands of years ago, a race from the stars secretly landed in the canyon and extracted uranium to serve technologies and energies beyond modern human comprehension. Some even point to ancient legends of lost civilizations, strange archaeological sites, and unexplained celestial phenomena in the skies over the American Southwest as possible clues linking the Grand Canyon to these uninvited visitors from beyond Earth. In particular, the theory draws strength from satellite images that appear to show mysterious cracks and entrances on the canyon's cliffs. Features some claim are remnants of alien technology left behind. Of course, to this day, there is no solid evidence of extraterrestrials at the Grand Canyon or proof that they ever mined uranium here. Yet it is precisely this unsolved mystery, alongside the canyon's rich history and unique geology, that fuels the imagination. The Grand Canyon is not only a natural wonder, but also a destination for those seeking answers to some of humanity's greatest questions about both our past and our future. The alien doorway, entrance of the extraterrestrials. Perhaps one of the most intriguing stories about the Grand Canyon in recent years comes not from ancient legend, but from modern technology itself. In 2022, explorers and conspiracy theorists around the world began sharing a surprising discovery made possible by Google Earth. According to these reports, nestled among the sheer cliffs and wild, untouched lands of the Grand Canyon, satellite images revealed a gigantic stone doorway hidden in a remote area, one almost entirely untouched by human footsteps. What astonished people wasn't just the size or the inaccessible location of this stone doorway, but its shape, a design that instantly evoked images of ancient Egyptian temple gates. With its squared, vertical structure and sloping roof on either side, it looked as though it had been carved with careful precision by a giant hand in some distant age. For those who believe in the existence of extraterrestrials, this was no ordinary natural phenomenon or random quirk of geology. They argue that this structure could be a secret entrance leading to an underground base, perhaps one where aliens are still active, quietly watching over the human world. The story grew even more captivating when people noticed just how closely this doorway resembles the monumental temple gates along the banks of the Nile, once belonging to pharaohs and the great civilization of ancient Egypt. This has fueled a strange but fascinating hypothesis. Could there be a connection between the world's ancient civilizations and intelligent beings from the distant cosmos? Was the Grand Canyon once a stopover or even a secret outpost for visitors from the stars? And are there traces still hidden somewhere among the canyon's towering red rocks, waiting to be found after millions of years? Of course, all of this remains in the realm of speculation and imagination. But in the world of the Grand Canyon, the appearance of an alien doorway has only added to the mystery, making this land all the more alluring to generations of curious souls across the globe. The legend of the giant city and the mysterious Buddha statue of the Grand Canyon. If there's ever been a story about the Grand Canyon that's both haunting and unforgettable, it would have to be the legend of the City of Giants and the mysterious Buddha statue, a tale forever linked with the name Kincaid, a figure woven into many of the canyon's strangest legends. In 1909, after a famous expedition through Marble Canyon, Kincaid claimed to have discovered an underground city hidden deep within the Grand Canyon, a place unlike any archaeological site ever found in North America. Kincaid recounted that inside this vast network of caves, he encountered mummies over 9 feet tall, nearly 3 meters high. a staggering sight that conjured visions of ancient giants once walking the earth. These mummies were tightly wrapped in thick, dark cloth and lay along stone corridors like ancient sentinels, sleeping through thousands of years. But that was only the beginning. Kincaid described a trove of astonishing and diverse artifacts. Among the objects he saw with his own eyes were copper weapons, exquisitely carved jars, stones engraved with strange symbols, and decorations from a variety of cultures. What baffled him most, however, was a statue sitting in the place of honor in the main hall. According to Kincaid, it depicted a deity seated cross-legged, holding lotus flowers in both hands, a striking resemblance to the image of the Buddha so revered in the East. The very thought that a statue with such unmistakable religious ties to the other side of the world might be found in the heart of the Grand Canyon only made the story more difficult to believe. Legend has it that after Kincaid contacted the Smithsonian Institution to report his shocking discovery, scientists and archaeologists from the institute immediately came to investigate. But from that point on, all information seemed to vanish from public view. Conspiracy theorists claim that the Smithsonian secretly removed all artifacts from the cave, sealed the entrance, and erased every trace of the City of Giants and the mysterious Buddha statue. According to these theories, the silence was fueled by fears that history would have to be rewritten, or by anxieties about the possibility that ancient people had achieved far more than we now imagine. Whatever the truth may be, the legend of the City of Giants and the Buddha statue continues to live on in the imaginations of countless people. It remains an essential part of the Grand Canyon's rich and mysterious tapestry, a place where the line between fact and fantasy, past and present, is forever blurred by the mist of the unexplained. The monster wave at the Flannan Isles, 3 lighthouse keepers, and a mystery without an answer. Isolated among the cold waves off the west coast of Scotland, the Flannan Isles rise like a strange and distant land, a place shaped only by sheer cliffs and wild winds that batter it all year round. Almost no one lives on these islands except for the towering lighthouse that has stood there since the late 19th century, serving as the only beacon for ships braving these treacherous waters. And yet, this seemingly peaceful spot became the setting for one of the most mysterious maritime stories in European history, a mystery that has remained unsolved for over a century. On December 15, 1900, as a ship passed by the Flannan Isles in the midst of a fierce storm, the crew was startled to see that the lighthouse's beam was dark. It was a worrying sign, because in winter, when storms and crashing waves threatened every vessel, the Flannan Light was the last hope for sailors, guiding them away from deadly reefs. It took another 11 days before rescue crews could even attempt to land, waiting for the weather to calm just enough to reach the island. But as soon as they set foot ashore, an eerie sense of cold and unease seeped through every corner of the lighthouse. There was no sign of the 3 keepers coming out to greet them, nor any trace of life at all. Beds were unmade, the clock on the wall had stopped, and the last meal was still on the table, unfinished, as if someone had stood up and vanished without saying goodbye. The entire island was wrapped in a strange silence. There were no clues, no messages left behind. The investigation uncovered details that only deepened the confusion. Massive waves had battered the island, bending iron railings that were supposed to be unbreakable. Even rocks weighing over a ton had been thrown from their original spots. Many researchers have suggested that, while trying to secure equipment during the storm, the 3 keepers may have been swept away by a sudden monster wave, dragged down into the bottomless depths below the cliffs. This theory remains the most widely accepted, for the forces of nature here have always defied human expectation. But the mystery of the Flannan Isles never ended there. The story quickly spread, fueling endless rumors. Some whispered about bitter arguments that led to tragedy. Others spun tales of strange sea creatures, or even ghostly apparitions from phantom ships. No matter which theory you prefer, each only adds another layer to the shroud of mystery surrounding that lonely lighthouse. Even now, the disappearance of the 3 keepers at Flannan Isles remains one of the greatest unsolved maritime mysteries in European history. The mysterious crystal sword of Spain. When archaeologists search for traces of ancient civilizations, they often come across countless tools and weapons made of flint, scattered deep beneath the layers of earth. These are tangible reminders of a time when humanity depended on rudimentary skills and pure survival instinct. Yet, in a quiet corner of southern Spain, researchers recently uncovered a mystery that defies everything they thought they knew. Instead of just flint, they unearthed a cache of weapons and artifacts made from volcanic rock crystal, a material that is exceedingly rare in this region. From 2007 to 2010, a team of scientists from the University of Granada, the University of Seville, and the Spanish National Research Council embarked on a lengthy excavation at the Montelirio Tholos megalithic tomb. This ancient tomb stretches over 43 meters in length and is divided into 8 interconnected chambers. A long corridor leads directly to a central room with a diameter of over 4.5 meters. According to the scientists, this tomb has existed since at least 3000 BC, meaning it has witnessed more than 5,000 years of human history and change. As they dug deeper, the archaeologists discovered a total of 25 sets of human remains scattered throughout the burial complex. Among them was one man and many women who, according to forensic analysis, died from poisoning. Most striking was the way the women's skeletons were arranged in a circle, seated around the remains of a single individual, likely a leader or figure of great importance. This arrangement conjures the image of a solemn collective ritual and raises questions about its true significance in ancient society. Beside these skeletal remains, the team found 19 arrowheads, each crafted entirely from crystal, placed together in carefully organized groups, as if arranged for some sacred purpose. These arrowheads show no signs of ever being used in battle. Instead, they appear to have served as ceremonial objects, perhaps offerings meant to invoke strength or the protection of the gods. In a separate, deeper chamber within the tomb, archaeologists uncovered a crystal sword with an ivory hilt and sheath nearly 22 centimeters in length. This sword is not only a rare and precious artifact, but also undeniable proof of the remarkable craftsmanship achieved by the people of that era. What makes this discovery even more astonishing is the fact that there are no natural sources of crystal anywhere near Montelirio. The ancient people would have had to bring the material from afar, overcoming great distances and numerous hardships just to possess volcanic crystal. This alone suggests that these weapons and objects were extraordinarily valuable, reserved exclusively for the elite members of society. Their creation demanded advanced technical skills, knowledge handed down over generations, and reflects a network of trade that was far more developed than previously thought possible for the time. The crystal sword and its accompanying artifacts are not merely symbols of power. They are closely tied to rituals and beliefs about the connection between the living, their ancestors, and unseen spiritual forces. Looking at how the remains and objects were arranged, one can sense the deep reverence these ancient people held for the spiritual world. They believed that power, protection, and strength all derived from sacred ceremonies involving such unique items. To this day, the Montelirio Tholos tomb and its crystal sword remain an enduring mystery for the field of archaeology. These findings not only enrich our understanding of the past, but also open new questions about the technical abilities, worldview, and spiritual life of the ancient people of the Iberian Peninsula. The disappearance of the Sarah Jo. On a February morning in 1979, as the sun rose over the horizon, 5 close friends set out from the island of Maui on a small boat named the Sarah Jo. The vessel was just 17 feet long, equipped with a weak outboard motor, barely suitable for gliding across calm bays, let alone braving the wide and often unforgiving Pacific Ocean. That morning, the sea was so tranquil that everyone left on shore remembered the sense of safety and peace it brought. Because of that calm, the group didn't bother checking the weather report. Instead, they simply watched the horizon and trusted their own instincts. After all, years of living alongside the water had taught them to believe they could handle whatever the sea might throw their way. But the ocean has never been a place of certainty. Barely 2 hours after they left the shore, a violent storm swept in without warning. Fierce winds began to howl, and waves rose suddenly, towering more than 40 feet high. Even larger vessels struggled to make it back to port in the chaos. By that afternoon, not a single trace remained of the Sarah Joe or the friends who had sailed on her. Worry quickly swept through the community. A massive search operation was launched, with airplanes and boats scouring more than 70,000 square miles of ocean for 5 straight days, but not a single clue was found. Despite this, the families and friends of the missing men refused to let go of hope. They expanded the search to nearby islands, scanning every stretch of sand and every coral reef, clinging to the faintest possibility that a miracle might happen. The search stretched on for 3 more weeks, only to end in heartbreak and helplessness as the ocean kept its secrets sealed tight. After weeks of anxious waiting and empty hands, the painful truth became unavoidable. The Sarah Joe and her 5 passengers had vanished forever into the vast embrace of the sea. Their story faded into a quiet ache within the community, recalled only in hushed conversations on still afternoons or in the sorrowful eyes of those left behind. Nearly a decade slipped by, and it seemed as if the fate of the little boat had been erased from memory by the relentless tide, until a strange twist of fate occurred. In 1988, during a scientific survey on Taongi Island in the distant Marshall Islands, a research team stumbled across the wreck of the Sarah Joe lying forlorn on a stretch of white sand. The hull remained intact, but the engine had disappeared without a trace. Not far from where the boat had come to rest, the researchers found a simple stone grave marked by a small cross fashioned from driftwood. Inside the grave was a human jawbone. When the jaw was sent for forensic analysis, it was identified as belonging to Scott Moorman, the youngest of the missing friends. Yet the greatest mystery remained. Who had buried him on this remote, deserted island more than 2,000 miles from Hawaii? Why had the engine vanished? And how had a tiny boat like the Sarah Joe managed to cross the immense Pacific, eventually washing up on such a distant shore? To this day, the disappearance of the Sarah Joe stands as a mystery with no true resolution, a haunting reminder for anyone who loves the sea of how fragile and unpredictable fate can be in the vastness of the ocean. Greek fire, the undecipherable weapon of destruction. Throughout the long history of warfare, humankind has never ceased inventing fire-based weapons of devastating power. But it wasn't until the 7th century AD that the world witnessed the emergence of a weapon so terrifying, its very name sent chills through the ranks of every adversary: Greek fire. First unleashed by the Byzantine Empire in the year 672, this weapon quickly became a symbol of Greek military might. What made Greek fire truly unique was its astonishing nature, a mysterious liquid that not only burned fiercely on water, but became even more dangerous when it came into contact with the waves. In the heat of brutal naval battles, Greek fire would be pumped through long copper tubes, clinging to the hulls, sails, and even the bodies of enemy sailors. No one could extinguish these flames with water, and no material of that era could withstand the scorching heat and devastation it unleashed. Ancient records describe how Greek fire saved the city of Constantinople time and time again from invading forces, allowing the Byzantine Empire to hold strong against the might of Arab armies and other relentless foes. In fact, throughout the West, many believed that without Greek fire, European civilization itself could have fallen to unstoppable armies. The power of this weapon was so immense that its formula became an absolute state secret, passed down only to the emperor and a handful of loyal engineers. Among them, Callinicos of Heliopolis is often credited as the mastermind who first created Greek fire thanks to daring experiments and intellect far ahead of his time. For centuries, countless alchemists, scholars, and even kings across Europe tried to unlock the secret of Greek fire. But every attempt led to a dead end, and all that remains today are vague descriptions and a handful of legends passed down through the generations. Some modern scientists suggest that Greek fire might have been made from a blend of sulfur, pine resin, petroleum, and a few other mysterious chemicals. But to this day, no one has been able to recreate that ancient liquid, and not a single recipe has ever been proven to ignite a fire that cannot be extinguished, as the ancients once wielded in battle. The story of Greek fire is more than a tale of military technology. It stands as proof of human ingenuity and the power to defend a civilization during the darkest hours of history. Greek fire remains forever a symbol of secrets that have never truly been solved. The mysterious Roman dodecahedron. Throughout the long history of Europe, archaeologists have unearthed countless strange artifacts, but few have puzzled researchers as deeply as the Roman dodecahedron. Crafted from a copper alloy, this dodecahedron is shaped like a small sphere with 12 flat faces, each one a perfect pentagon. The most remarkable feature, however, is that every face is drilled with a circular hole, no two exactly the same in diameter. The sizes of these holes vary deliberately, creating a structure that is both exquisitely made and almost impossible to decipher in terms of its original purpose. The first dodecahedron was discovered in 1739 in a field in England, found lying next to a cache of ancient coins. Since that first find, archaeologists have uncovered at least 116 similar objects scattered across Northern Europe, especially in England, France, Germany, Belgium, and Switzerland. Many of these dodecahedrons have been discovered within coin hoards, suggesting they were considered highly valuable by ancient people and carefully preserved. What makes these dodecahedrons even more mysterious is that there is not a single mention of them in any surviving Roman historical record. Researchers have found no written explanation about their purpose or how they were used. When the first dodecahedrons came to light, some early scholars speculated that they might be weapons, perhaps fitted onto the end of a club or used in battle. However, further study quickly ruled this out, as the objects are far too light to serve as real weapons or cause any damage. Over the years, new theories have continued to emerge. Physicist Amelia Sparavigna from the Politecnico di Torino in Italy proposed a rather compelling idea. She suggested that the different-sized holes in the dodecahedron might have been used as a distance measuring tool for the Roman army. According to her theory, if a soldier knew the size of a distant object, he could look through two of the holes and calculate the distance based on the angle of view. The small knobs on the outer edges would allow for a steady grip in the field. Yet even this theory is not entirely convincing. These objects come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes, and curiously, they have only been found in Northern Europe and not in other important Roman territories, which leaves this idea unresolved. The mystery only deepened in 1939 when archaeologists made a remarkable discovery: a bronze dodecahedron placed with honor inside the tomb of a noble woman from the 4th century AD. Next to it was a scepter made of bone, suggesting that these two objects might have been used together in some sort of religious or magical ceremony. Some scholars believe the dodecahedron could have been mounted atop the scepter to symbolize spiritual authority, or perhaps served as a talisman for protection and blessings. To this very day, the Roman dodecahedron remains an unanswered question for archaeology and history. Despite countless hypotheses, ranging from military measuring device to religious artifact to magical symbol, every idea remains just that: speculation. The true meaning of the dodecahedron is still waiting to be revealed. Karahantepe, the prehistoric VIP lounge at the heart of Turkey. There are places where, the moment you set foot on them, time seems to come to a standstill. Karahantepe, set in the wild, untouched landscapes of southeastern Turkey, is one such place. Here, more than 11,400 years ago, bands of hunter-gatherers created a monumental site, a testament to the extraordinary creativity of humanity from the very dawn of history. Karahantepe was not just an ordinary settlement. Long before people learned to farm, before the great civilizations of humankind ever arose, this place was already distinguished by its solidly built temples, mysterious circular chambers, and an array of gigantic stone statues with striking forms. Perhaps the most famous among them are the phallic statues and the serpent-bodied human heads, figures that seem to have stepped right out of some ancient legend. Stepping into this prehistoric VIP lounge, you find stone walls enclosing a special ceremonial space, a place where young people underwent coming-of-age rituals, a pivotal transition marking both physical and spiritual maturity. Archaeologists like Professor Nekmi Karul believe that Karahan-Tepe once served as a spiritual center, where some of the first gods were worshipped and mysterious rites unfolded in the darkness of the stone chambers. What is most astonishing is that all of this was built by people who still lived in the age of hunting and gathering, before farming or animal husbandry had even begun. These early humans not only hunted game and foraged wild fruit, but also joined forces to create monuments that would endure through the ages. The presence of such statues and grand architecture reveals that, even in humanity's earliest days, people were searching for meaning beyond mere survival. They longed for a place to place their faith, to come together and experience the most important milestones of life. The world's oldest female shaman. Mystery beneath the soil of Şanlıurfa, Turkey. Amid the windswept, dusty hills of Şanlıurfa in southeastern Turkey, archaeologists have opened a rare doorway into the spiritual world of our distant ancestors. In the ancient burial site of Çamlıköyük, they uncovered a strange tomb lying deep beneath layers of earth and stone that had hidden it for thousands of years. What made this discovery so remarkable was the skeleton of a young woman, just 25 to 30 years old at the time of her death, but buried as someone of extraordinary status within her community. She did not rest alone. Surrounding her were the bones of wild animals, bird wings, bird beaks, and, most striking of all, the skull of an ancient aurochs, a mighty and formidable wild bull that once ruled the prehistoric plains. Nearby, bird bones, the legs of martens, and fragments of artifacts made from wild creatures were carefully arranged around her body, as if sending a sacred message to the world beyond. What astonished the scientists was not just the richness of the grave goods, but the deeper meaning behind this burial. For generations, it was widely believed that spiritual leaders, shamans, or those who connected humans with the gods in prehistoric times were almost always men. But here, before our eyes, was living evidence of a female shaman, the oldest woman ever found with this role, who lived nearly 12,000 years ago. The grave offerings, especially the aurochs bones, a symbol of strength and power, along with the various parts of birds and animals, showed that this woman once served as a bridge to the spirit world, guiding the tribe's most important rituals. Perhaps she alone could communicate with the gods or spirit animals, or perhaps she was the one who held the secrets of healing and passed down sacred knowledge from the other side. This discovery has shaken old assumptions about the place of women in ancient society. The woman of Şanlıurfa was not just an exceptional individual, but a symbol of equality, power, and wisdom held by women from the very beginnings of human history. It is a reminder that history does not always match what we find written in the books. Today, as we look back on that quiet tomb on the Turkish steppe, there is an undeniable sense of awe for the silent strength of this female shaman, a mysterious and inspiring figure whose presence left an indelible mark on the story of humanity's evolution and growth. The oldest musical instrument, the bird bone flutes of Eynan Malaha, Israel. Have you ever wondered what the very first music of humanity sounded like? The answer may surprise you. In the ruins of the ancient village of Eynan Malaha, located in today's Levant region of Israel, archaeologists made a remarkable discovery. Amidst the remains of a Natufian community dating back over 12,000 years, they found small, finely crafted flutes made from bird bones. These instruments are nothing like the gentle bamboo flutes that many people might imagine. When reconstructed and played, the sound they produce is piercing and high-pitched, more like the call or warning cry of a predatory bird echoing across the wild. Researchers believe these unique sounds may have been used as hunting tools to lure or confuse prey, or perhaps as sacred sounds during ancient rituals, connecting people to the natural world and the invisible forces they believed in. What is even more astonishing is the Natufians' ability to select and precisely drill holes in the bones to produce specific notes. This was not just simple creativity, it reflected a high level of instrument-making skill for a prehistoric society. They knew how to make use of the materials around them, experimented with different shapes, and may even have recognized which tones suited each particular purpose. This discovery shows that music, art, and spirituality have been intertwined with human development since the dawn of our history. Even in an age of hunting and gathering, the sounds of these bird bone flutes serve as a reminder that, despite living simple lives, people were already searching for beauty and deeper meaning in their existence. Today, when we listen to the ancient whistles that emerge from a 12,000-year-old flute, it is easy to picture those faraway evenings beside the fire, as the sound of the flute blended with the wind, the calls of wild animals, and the voices and laughter of our ancestors, a primordial symphony that brought the community together and nourished the human spirit from the very beginnings of civilization. The sunken city of Crescent, a mystery off the Gulf of Mexico, USA. Amid the quiet waves off the Chandeleur Islands in Louisiana, a deep mystery is silently challenging the limits of human curiosity. For decades, architect Georges Gelée has tirelessly pursued a theory that few dare to believe, that at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, there may be traces of an ancient city called Crescent, a place rumored to have once possessed a pyramid built of granite, a type of stone that does not naturally occur in this region. It all began when local fishermen repeatedly hauled up strange square blocks of granite, objects that simply don't belong in the ecosystem of the Gulf. Stranger still, in the waters around Crescent, many people have reported compasses spinning wildly and electromagnetic equipment malfunctioning, as if some unknown force is hidden beneath the surface. Georges Gelée used modern sonar equipment to scan the area and claims to have captured images showing unusually straight, square formations beneath the sea, formations that look remarkably like the ruins of some ancient, man-made structure. For him, this is unmistakable evidence of a lost civilization, one that sank into history as the sea rose after the last ice age. However, all the evidence Georges Gelée has presented remains unconvincing to mainstream scientists. Some suggest that the granite blocks are merely debris from modern construction or shipping projects, or perhaps just a trick of nature. There are also skeptics who dismiss the electromagnetic anomalies as coincidences or as technical interference from faulty equipment. But regardless of what the truth may be, the sunken city of Crescent continues to stir controversy, fueling the imaginations of archaeologists, mystery hunters, and history enthusiasts across America. Perhaps beneath the still waters off the coast of Louisiana, secrets remain hidden that humanity has never dreamed of. Secrets just waiting for someone bold enough, like Georges Gelée, to seek the final answer. The Ancient Red Mine. Mystery in the flooded caves of Quintana Roo, Mexico. Some mysteries from the past are hidden in places few would ever expect, deep underground, in the absolute darkness of the flooded caves of Quintana Roo along Mexico's southeastern coast. Here, archaeologists have uncovered one of the oldest red pigment mines in the Americas, dating back an astonishing 12,000 years, a discovery that has left the scientific world in awe. Imagine the scene. Ancient miners, guided only by the faint flicker of small torches, inching their way through narrow passageways and crawling through utter darkness far beneath the earth to extract this vivid red pigment. For them, ochre was not just another mineral. It was prehistoric red gold, used to create cave paintings, to adorn the body during sacred rituals, and to serve as a symbol of power and life itself. The mining went on for thousands of years, from around 12,000 to 10,000 years ago, leaving behind a wealth of traces, deep pits carved into cave walls, remnants of stone tools, and even ancient human footprints forever pressed into layers of primordial mud. These people risked everything, getting lost, cave-ins, encounters with terrifying creatures of the dark, all to bring this precious red mineral back to their community. Then, suddenly, around 10,000 years ago, the miners abandoned the site. The shafts were left empty, tools scattered as if something unexpected had forced them to leave and never return. Perhaps they found a new source, or climate change drove them away, or maybe the true reasons are just another secret swept away by the current of history. As the sea levels rose after the Ice Age, the entire cave system was swallowed up, transforming the site into a kind of Atlantis unique to the Yucatan. Today, this submerged cave network preserves a one-of-a-kind archaeological treasure, while raising countless questions about the bravery, ingenuity, and beliefs of the prehistoric people of the Americas. Those red ochre-stained hands painted the very first images of humanity's longing for life, for art, for the sacred, values that people continue to pursue from the flooded caves of Quintana Roo to every corner of the world. The mysteries of history never fail to inspire us to explore and reflect on the past. If you enjoy these strange and fascinating stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below about what piqued your curiosity the most. Make sure to follow along for more journeys. There are still so many mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Thank you for watching.